This week we have a new project to be introduced. It's a lesson plan demonstration of the instructional strategies you have been learning the past 2 and 3 weeks in our class. The purpose of this project is for you to show your understanding of these strategies and help you to begin to prepare to teach literacy in your own classroom. The first task is you will need to select one of the following instructional strategies from each column. You will plan a lesson for each one using the Hack lesson plan attached. Now, I want you to listen very carefully because we are only choosing from the early literacy skills and the emergent literacy skills box right now. I do not want you to do vocabulary or comprehension because we haven't learned about those yet. So take a look at the first box, early literacy skills, and you can choose using a big book for instruction, interactive writing activity, interactive reading activity, or interactive play centers. And those go back to the week we learned about early literacy. Also a little bit from the emergent literacy with the big book. The next category you can choose from is from our emergent literacy presentation, and this will really look at letter naming, letter sounds, syllables, phonemic blending, segmentation, manipulation, and then our sight words and our anything with phonics. So if you think back 2 or 3 weeks now, you may choose one of these topics to incorporate into your lesson plan. Okay, remember, we are not looking at vocabulary and we're not looking at comprehension. Those will come later on in the semester. So task 1 is to select one of those strategies, and task 2 is to make a lesson plan for this strategy. An example would be, I want to do a syllable activity from our emergent literacy skills. And so what I'll do is I'll go down to the Hack lesson plan format and I will plan a lesson plan about children identifying syllables and words. That's it. So what we need to do is do our lesson plan, and then different from our first lesson plan we did is you will be sharing this lesson plan with the class, and this means that you need to make all of the materials to show what the boys and girls would be doing and show what you would be doing as the teacher. So you're not teaching the lesson, but you're walking us through it, and you will need any handouts. If you make a game, you will need to have the game made so we can see it. If you're using literature, you need a copy of the book or an electronic copy for us to see. Just anything you need to do for the lesson should be made and prepared so you can demonstrate it. Now, this should only take you about 5 minutes to demonstrate because you're not teaching it. You're just walking us through it. And you must be prepared on our due date for all of this. When it comes to our lesson plan format, you're going to be doing the entire Hack lesson plan format. I know the last time we planned we used a modified format. Some of the difference are down toward the bottom because we will have that opportunity to show adaptations, related materials, and extensions this time, whereas the last time we were planning specifically for that population that we didn't add it in. Most of you are familiar with this, and I know that many of you talked about needing some extra help in our lesson plan. So I wanted to point out some areas on this directly from this document that will help you. And if you still need specifics, I will make an additional video to post. But I did preview this evening, and it's pretty inclusive of what I would be giving to you, so I need to know specifically what you need help in. You're, again, giving your lesson plan a title, telling us the subject, and your subject will come directly from above. Will it be, your subject be syllables? Will it be phonemic blending? Will it be interactive writing? That's your subject area, okay? And all of those fall under reading. So you can just put reading there. If you want to step one step further and put a specific, you may. The grade level, whatever you think this is appropriate for, but know that these are early literacy skills. So I don't think any of your lesson plans will go above 2nd grade. and that's probably even a stretch. I think we're thinking early ages through pre-K through first. Now, our standard area and our standards come directly from the PDSAS website. Watch this video if you are still not clear on how to choose a standard. It comes right from here. Then you'll write your objective. Again, I only need the entire objective. I don't need you to break down the condition, the behavior, and the degree for me. You will put those, after you answer those questions, you will put those into one giant sentence. And so if you're really still struggling with how to write an objective, this is a nice simplified video that will tell you right here from the link. Our curriculum alignment from the PASAS portal, you click on this link and you will copy and paste directly from the website the big idea and also the other parts of the framework. They're all there for you. This video from YouTube will show you exactly how to find what you need. This curriculum alignment matches your standard. Okay, so you need to make sure that they're aligned. And the video right here will show you how to align them. Okay. Your rationale is up to 3 sentences describing your activity and how you know your class is ready for it. What have they done prior to this? What shows you that it's something they need to know? Now, this is a little tricky because you don't have a classroom you're teaching this in probably, and so this is all kind of made up. But if you're teaching syllables, why would you be teaching syllables, and what would lead the class to be ready for that skill? So you can think about that critically and put that in your rationale. The activity is just a quick introduction of what you're doing. So I'm going to do a syllable activity, and we're going to clap syllables from picture cards. Okay, so just very general, brief summary of your activity. The duration is important to keeping it developmentally appropriate. So think about how long do you think this lesson would take, and is that an appropriate amount of time for our students? You're only thinking about the lesson that you choose above. So I'm only thinking about syllables at this point. Now I may have a piece of literature I read at the beginning of my lesson prior to my game, but I don't want any other components into this duration, just my lesson on syllables. List your materials and equipment needed. If vocabulary is vital, put it right there. There may be some of you that don't have vocabulary words that will be introduced during this lesson, and that's okay. Not every lesson does. But if you're doing a lesson on syllables, then probably the word syllable should be in there somewhere. If you're doing a lesson on blending or segmentation, you probably want to have those words in there. Otherwise, you might not have vocabulary words that are important for your lesson. Procedures, please number them. It says that right there in your lesson plan. This is how we follow along if we're reading the steps on a lesson plan. And if you hand this to a substitute, they're going to need you to have it numbered to follow along. Step 1 is going to be that grabber, the attention grabber. So what would make children want to pay attention to you and learn what you're teaching them? And then step 2 is what the teacher will do, what the student will do. Sometimes we want to use that I do, we do, you do kind of philosophy when we write these lesson plans. And it's step by step, what comes next. And at the end, number 4, this is important. How will you end the lesson? How will you wrap up? How will you review what you learned and then send them on their way? The assessment should be formative, so we're not having any tests. And it also could be that you're just observing and taking notes or recording information on a checklist, but you're probably going to have that checklist ready and have specifics, or if you want them to do a worksheet or take a picture of something, you need to really decide how you're going to document their learning in this area. Once you've done that, you need to go back to your objective right here and see if what you selected is going to show you and give you information that they have achieved that objective. So make sure they match. That's very, very important when you teach a lesson, that your assessment matches your objective. Related materials are other things that you could use if you needed to add on or something else that you can use to extend the lesson. And then adaptations would be if you had a student who is an English language learner, or a student that was gifted, or a student with disabilities, what adaptations would you have to make sure that they understand it? If we're doing syllables, maybe the adaptation for an English language learner would be that we have words from their native language or pictures from their native language, and they can do syllables from those words because that would still allow them to work on syllables. Maybe you have a gifted student, you'd give words that are longer. Maybe they'd be 4 and 5 syllable words, and maybe we'd have them look at the written component and start to divide them. Really just think, a student with disabilities, maybe they need an adaptation to have a smaller amount that you'll be checking in with them. The extension is what comes after this. And so if you wanted them to continue learning this skill, what could you have them do at home? Maybe you could put an activity in their newsletter. Maybe you could send a little note home with parents, but what's something that they could do for fun? So with syllables, I might ask parents to, when they're riding in the car with their child, try to find 5 words, kind of do an I spy, and then pick the syllables of the words that they find. So I spy a tree. How many syllables are in the word tree? Do that together in the car. Maybe you find target. How many syllables are in the word target? So a little extension would be a scavenger hunt for syllables. Something quick that you could do to keep continuing the learning. The last part is very important. Many of you missed this in your project we just completed, and it's important that you answer all the questions that are listed here to get your points. First of all, look at the rubric and grade your lesson plan. How do you think you did? Do you have all the parts there? And you don't have to physically give me the graded rubric, but I do want you to go back and make sure that you have answered all of the parts that are here. Then evaluate that plan. What do you think you did well? What areas do you think you need to work on? Where did you come up with your idea? What theory formed this lesson? Also, is it developmentally appropriate in time and in the activity, in their ability to learn the skill you want them to learn? And did you plan for cultural diversity or for any of those other accommodations you made in the adaptation area? Was that difficult or was that easy? And what could you work on next? What's something you want to work on to make better in your lesson planning? This is our lesson plan project. Here is the rubric you'll be graded on. I'm not going to read the rubric to you, but what I need you to do is when you do your plan, look at each of these and you'll see it's very specific as to what I'm looking for. If you follow above, right here, if you follow all the parts, you will get all your points. It's that simple. I'm not grading on if it's the best lesson in the world, because I know you're beginning this stage of lesson planning, so you may have things you need to work on. If you're following the format and making sure that I understand your plan, you're going to get your points, and I will give you feedback just like last time on how to make the plan better. The only area I want to point out is vocabulary. I just told you that you may or may not have vocabulary that's necessary. If you do not have vocabulary, then please put on your lesson plan, vocabulary is not an important component of this lesson. Put something in the vocabulary section. If you leave it blank, you'll get docked your points. But I know that you physically took the attempt to think about it, or you only have one word, then yes, you may put them, I will grade them accordingly. So you're not going to be docked points unless you leave it blank. There is a section on the rubric for supportive skills that just is looking at the lesson plan, that you followed the directions, that you researched finding good quality activities, and that you have done your proofreading. And this is worth 100 points. So if you have any questions, let me know. The biggest thing is that we clarify the due date, and the due date is going to be listed on the slide that you got this from. So just adhere to that. I know there was some confusion last time. And good luck.